In 1963, a man in a small Turkish village knocked down a wall in his basement. He wasn't an archaeologist. He wasn't on a mission. He was just doing renovations. But behind that wall was a tunnel. And behind that tunnel was a room. And behind that room was an entire city hidden 85 meters beneath the ground, 18 floors deep, built to hold 20,000 people. A city that had been sitting there in total silence for over 2,000 years. And nobody, not one person, knew it existed. This is Derinkuyu, and what archaeologists found inside it raises questions that are still being debated today. Welcome to Uncover History, where we dig into the stories that mainstream history leaves buried. It's documented, excavated, and the exact origins are still debated. Stay with me until the end, because secret number 5 is the one that changes everything. Cappadocia, Turkey, a landscape that looks like it belongs on another planet. Volcanic rock towers rise out of the earth like ancient fingers. The ground itself is soft, made of compressed ash from eruptions millions of years ago. For centuries, people who lived here knew something strange was beneath their feet. Locals spoke of tunnels, of rooms underground, of ancestors who had disappeared into the earth during times of war and never came back up. But no one knew how deep it went. Until one broken basement wall changed everything. When Turkish authorities arrived after that 1963 discovery, they expected a small cave system, maybe a few rooms, a historical curiosity. What they found was incomprehensible. Tunnels stretching in every direction, room after room carved perfectly into the soft volcanic rock, ventilation shafts drilled from the surface, water wells reaching the underground water table. And then they found the doors. Massive circular stone wheels, some weighing over 500 kilograms, each one designed to roll across a tunnel entrance and seal it completely from the inside. From the outside, they were immovable. Whoever built this city wasn't just hiding. They were prepared for a siege. Let me give you the numbers because they're almost impossible to believe. 18 floors, straight down, 85 meters beneath the surface. Over 600 individual doors discovered so far. 52 ventilation shafts running from the surface to the lowest levels. A single tunnel, 9 kilometers long, connecting this city underground to another buried city called Kaymakli, and a total capacity estimated at up to 20,000 people. 20,000 people living underground, in complete secrecy. But here's what nobody talks about. Archaeologists believe they have only excavated roughly half of Derinkuyu. Nobody knows what's in the deepest levels. The upper floors were practical. Stables for livestock, storage rooms for food and grain, kitchens with ventilation channels carved into the ceiling to pull smoke upward and out. The middle floors were where people lived, bedrooms, communal halls, spaces that could house entire families for months at a time. But it's the deeper floors that stopped archaeologists in their tracks. Churches carved directly into the rock, with vaulted ceilings, nave and apse, the full architecture of a Christian place of worship 40 meters underground. A missionary school, complete with a separate room scholars believe was used to prepare the dead for burial. A baptismal pool, cut from the rock. Whoever built this didn't just want to survive down here. They wanted to live, to worship, to educate their children. They were planning to stay. Now, here's where mainstream history runs out of comfortable answers. The engineering of Derinkuyu should not have been possible for the civilization that supposedly built it. Take the ventilation system. 52 shafts, each drilled at precise angles to create continuous airflow through every single floor. Modern engineers who have studied these shafts say the system rivals 20th century HVAC design. This was built thousands of years ago, with hand tools. The water system is even more remarkable. The main well reaches the underground water table independently of the surface, and it could be sealed from below, so that if an enemy found it from above, they couldn't poison the water supply. Whoever designed this had already thought about that, had already planned for an enemy who would try to kill them through their water. And the escape tunnels. Multiple hidden routes, each leading to a different surface exit miles from the city's center. So that if the enemy found one exit, the inhabitants could vanish through another. This is not primitive engineering. This is genius. So who built it? The official answer is the Phrygians, an ancient Anatolian civilization who lived in this region around 800 BC. Pottery and artifacts from that period were found in the upper levels. But here's what the official answer doesn't explain. Some researchers point to Hittite artifacts found in Cappadocian tunnels, clues that suggest activity in this region as far back as 1400 BC, 600 years before the Phrygians. If they're right, someone was already down here long before the official record begins. And a small but credible group of archaeologists have pointed to the deepest, oldest levels of Derinkuyu and noted that the tool marks and construction techniques are inconsistent with anything we know about Iron Age civilization. The question of who actually started building Derinkuyu remains officially unanswered. What everyone does agree on is this: multiple civilizations expanded and used it over thousands of years. The Phrygians, possibly the Hittites before them, Byzantine Christians fleeing Roman persecution, and finally, Cappadocian Greeks hiding from conflict, right up until 1923. The last recorded use of Derinkuyu as a hiding place was 1923, when Cappadocian Greeks took refuge here during the population exchange between Greece and Turkey. Just over 100 years ago. Real people living underground, in the same city carved by hands we cannot identify. Now here's the detail that connects directly to our last video. The deep Christian levels of Derinkuyu, the churches, the schools, the baptismal pools, were carved and used during the 1st to 4th centuries AD, because the Roman Empire was hunting them. The same Rome we talked about last week, the empire of Nero, of Caesar, of the 9th Legion, was the reason 20,000 people chose to disappear underground rather than live on the surface. They went so deep that Rome couldn't find them. And they stayed there for generations. Number 1. It was lost for centuries. Locals knew vague tunnels existed beneath their village, but the full scale of the city was completely unknown until 1963. One broken wall. That's all that separated modern civilization from this discovery. Number 2. Only half of it has been excavated. The lower levels remain unexcavated to this day. No one has a full map of the city. No one knows what's at the very bottom. Number 3. Derinkuyu is not alone. Archaeologists have identified over 200 similar underground cities in the Cappadocia region. Most have never been fully explored. We have barely scratched the surface. Number 4. The original builders left no records, no construction blueprints, no carvings that say who they were or why they first began to dig. The very first architects of Derinkuyu simply do not exist in history. Number 5. There is a theory, not mainstream, but taken seriously by a small number of researchers, that the deepest levels of Derinkuyu were not built as a hiding place at all. That they were built to survive something far worse than an invasion. A catastrophe, something that came from above. Something that made the surface of the earth uninhabitable. And that whoever built the deepest levels knew it was coming. History has no explanation for that theory, but it has no refutation either. Derinkuyu is not a ruin. It is not a curiosity. It is proof that civilization runs deeper than we know, literally and figuratively, and that the people who built it took their secrets with them. If you want to know what those secrets might be, subscribe, because our next video goes even deeper. A civilization so advanced it was deliberately erased from history. And we found the evidence.